Here's Brody Brazil.
Hey, welcome back. This is my Sports Broadcaster series, and in Episode 4, we'll discuss how to navigate your social media presence as a sports personality. Look at that personality. Look at that haircut. I think that was early 2021, maybe, first couple weeks or months. And whatever fake shades I was wearing there, that was a big deal back then. I don't know. I don't know anything that's going on with that photo. But I do know that navigating a social media presence is not something we would have been discussing 7 to 10 years ago. But here we are approaching the mid-2020s, and it's pretty much everything for a sports broadcaster. It's not necessarily the way that maybe you get your paychecks and you actually do your job, but it's a part of your job and maybe even a platform that can help boost what you do as a professional. I've also got to do what I always do here in this series and grab the Post-it note, remind myself of a couple things. Oh yeah, this is a series. So this is episode, 4 did I say? 3 prior episodes and a couple more still to come out. I'm manufacturing some new ideas and other things I want to share. And on that note, literally, I don't pretend to be the expert or authority in any or all of these subjects. It's just that I've been around broadcasting for about 25 years. I've gone through a lot. I've witnessed what others have, and I want to share this advice. Too often, I give these bits and pieces out individually, one-on-one to people, a lot of young people, and that's it. And I want to find a way that it can be spread on a bigger platform to a wider audience. I just want to utilize this to help as many people as possible. So that is what the series is all about. And without further delay, let's get into your social media presence as a sports broadcaster and get used to it. I mean, social media and the different platforms, and I mean, who knows which new ones might emerge, what old legacy ones might go away, but social media in general, the idea of this presence and these platforms, this is not new anymore. It's been around for decades at this point. But get used to it because none of this is disappearing. It might change, and there may be better things and worse things, and who knows over the years, but this stuff is not going away. I said before that social media may or may not be how you make a living or your income or even part of it, but your presence alone on these platforms is valuable. For some, at the very least, it's like free advertising in a certain way. I will say, though, for as valuable as your presence is, if you have problems on these platforms, it can be costly. Like to the point where if you do something you shouldn't have and it's amplified via social media, yeah, it could cost you a job, a career, and much worse. So you have to treat all of this with respect. It may not seem real because social media is just on your phone and in your pocket or on your laptop, but it is real. It is in the real world. And it's really the first time that broadcasters, starting 15, 20 years ago, have ever encountered this two-way street. It used to be 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You're the broadcaster. You send the message to the audience. You're the only one that delivers it, and nothing really comes back to you. Well, there's fan mail. I guess somebody could leave a telegram or a voicemail back in the day, a little Western Union style. But no, in all seriousness, the messages were always one way. Well, here we are in this day and age, and the messages are very much two-way. Like there's comments on this video and on all my social platforms. And if you don't like what I said or my thoughts or my approach, you can easily let me know about it. But 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't a thing. As a viewer, as a consumer of the content, you didn't really get much say in feedback, but now that audience definitely does. And you're going to get tons of feedback. Like the bigger you get, the more stuff you put out there, the longer you're around this, you're going to hear more and more from the audience. My best practice on this is to crowdsource all of it. If you start listening to one person, whether they love you or they hate you or they're behind you or totally against you, if you start to narrow in on just the few that are catching your attention the most or are the most present, that's not going to work in your favor. You need to crowdsource all of this. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You need to not be too laser focused on any one source of feedback. On that note, I would also highly suggest you don't feed the trolls. There are and will be some out there that only exist and are only present on your platform, your page, your whatever, to just try and get under your skin. Or they oppose you in some weird way that before you've even said anything, they're already against it, and they're going to let you know about it. Their persistence is going to try and eat away at you. Don't perpetuate that. Don't give them more in return. And I'm not saying do or don't acknowledge them. I would say generally don't. But don't let that become a cat and mouse game. Don't feed the trolls. There's lots of strangers out there. And I heard this advice a long time ago. If somebody walked up to you on the street and offered you life advice, would you take it? Maybe, but probably not. So why would you do the same or literally the same as some people do if it's offered via the internet on a social platform? Why would you take somebody else's opinions and perspectives to such heart because they're on social media or they got a few likes to go with it versus if they just walked up to you on the street? There's a lot of strangers you're going to find out there when you're the broadcaster and you have these social platforms. I would take the praise in moderation as much as we talk about, take the criticism in moderation, and you might receive that too. Some of it might cut personal, some of it might cut deep. And I'm not saying that's fair. And I'm not saying that's right. And I'm not saying that anybody deserves it. I'm saying to be aware of it and to almost unfortunately expect it, because you can't necessarily stop it or control it ahead of time. But also in that same vein, take the praise in moderation. Don't take the criticism to heart, but also don't take all of the praise. Keep yourself tempered and level-headed and avoid rabbit holes. What do I mean by that? Avoid the back and forths that just are not going to get anybody to see eye to eye or on the same page. Just agree to disagree and move on. There's no value in going down rabbit holes that you don't need to. Okay, on social media, I guess you're trying to position yourself. What exactly do you want to bring to the table? Like when you post about things, is it about you or your job or the team or players or athletes you cover? But maybe try and choose consistent topics and maybe even be a little bit predictable. Like this is who that person is. This is generally what they do. And I'm not saying you can't stray away. Please do whenever you feel free, whenever you feel like it, feel free. This is your platform. I'm just saying in terms of a normal day-to-day type situation, consistent topics and a consistent tone. Like what is your tone? Are you the hot take person? Are you the sensible person? Are you the insightful person? Do you have the breaking news that people are expecting? Are you the athlete, the former athlete with experience, and you want to translate some of your insights? But what is your tone? What do you bring to the table? Also a certain frequency. And by that, I mean, don't just post today on one platform and then 2 weeks from now on a different platform and expect that any audience is going to follow you. I hate to say it, but these algorithms are machines. Humans aren't, but the gatekeepers to these platforms, they are. And if you want to be successful on them, you have to feed the machine a certain amount. And I don't mean that you should be out there faking things, exaggerating things, or doing them just to do them. I don't think that's a proper broadcaster to just, I need to come up with something, so here, let's kick it out. Believe it or not, if you put enough thought into ideas and concepts, there are plenty of opportunities for material on a regular basis. I'm saying you don't need to make it up, but you also can get it done with a little bit of effort, but a certain frequency of publishing and posting. Don't aim for metrics like this video. I don't know how many people are going to watch the Sports Broadcaster series, but it's important to me. It's something I wanted to do for younger people out there, and I hope this lives for years on and still makes sense and stands the test of time. Even if it helps 1 or 2 or 3 young people, my time doing this is obviously worth it. So don't aim for metrics all the time. Understand some things are going to bring you a lot more shares and posts and whatever, maybe even revenue, but don't aim for that. Do it for the right reasons. And that's kind of the next topic here. Content versus clicks. There's basically one of 2 reasons why you'd be posting anything on social media. The first is just, here it is. It's on a platter, like, here's my thoughts, here's the material, here's the content, like, I'm giving it to you right here and right now. The other reason you'd post something is usually with a link and, hey, I want you to click on this, and that's why we're here. it really is a delicate balance. Because if you only provide your thoughts on one platform, then people come to expect that. They'll take advantage of it. And usually you can't really benefit from one platform versus all of the different platforms. And if that one platform is suddenly less popular than the others, you've dug yourself a hole and you're kind of going down with that ship. You do need to have your own original content versus putting links out there for people to click. It really is a delicate balance. And consider the platform you're on. Consider the platform of what people usually do there versus don't be scared to send them to YouTube or take a look at my Instagram or here's what I just posted on my Twitter. I'm telling you about this right now on my YouTube. X, sorry. I know I'm going to call it Twitter until the end. But be good and be diverse on multiple platforms and really understand the difference of how many times out of 10 are you offering the actual content? Because if it's all clicks, people are going to say, what? I'm not clicking on all these things. They're just not going to do it. Even if they love you, they're not going to do it. Balance your content, balance your clicks. It's delicate. Simple as that. And I would also say that for some, social media and real life, they think it's two different things. And while they might have different ramifications, I would say the best piece of advice is for you to only be one real person. Don't be somebody different on social than you are if we were to run into each other at a basketball game. Try and be that same genuine person. And by that, try and follow the golden social rule. You know what that is? I came up with this, and I'm sure I'm not the first, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but I'm never going to say anything on social media or here on YouTube or even on television that I wouldn't also say about a team or to a team's face or to an athlete's face. If you're going to say it in these spaces, understand that it's probably going to get back to that person and everybody else surrounding them, whether it's good or bad. If it's good, hey, this player's been great. They're my favorite. I really like them. Well, you know what? Their mom or dad or brother or sister or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, they might hear it and pass it along to the person that you were just talking about. Stuff gets back to people. So my golden social rule is don't say anything about somebody or something on social that you wouldn't actually say in person to their face. And oh yeah, show your face once in a while. If you're a sports broadcaster, you're covering a team or a league or a player or an athlete, show your face. Show up. Be accountable. Let them then have the opportunity if you're talking bad about them and they want to have their rebuttal to you, well, that doesn't need to even be controversial, but show your face. It's so easy to sit back from the peanut gallery and throw darts. Well, sometimes the roles need to be reversed. You know you're doing the right job when you can actually show your face after covering a team. Stuff lives forever. Think about this on social media. All the hot takes, all the opinions you have, whether they still make sense in 5-10 years, whether they have a totally wrong tone in 5 to 10 years, whether you've changed your mind, whether you're a different person in 5 to 10 years, just understand that for the most part, anything you do now could live somewhere, someday, forever, even if it's not where you initially posted it. So be real, be as right as you can, and understand that although people move on, a lot of times they go back on your social media and your posts. And you know what? Sometimes it's important to just take a break. It really is. All of this stuff can get so fatiguing, and it's our point here that this is part of your job. You know, it comes with the territory, but at some points, you got to step away. You got to give yourself that mental rest from social media. Believe it or not, it doesn't seem like much, but it can be exhausting living in that world. So hopefully some of that helped. Again, it's interesting because none of that has to really do with broadcasting itself, but part of the job, part of the industry, and something that's not going away. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.